Take picture button.
Hi guys, so today I'm going to be doing story time, and it's Sunday right now, but it'll go up on Tuesday sometime. And today I'm going to be talking about how my brother broke 3 iPhones in the span of 3 years. So in March of 2013, he got an iPhone 5. And he had the iPhone 5 for about about a year and a half, about 20 months to be exact. And his phone broke. And what happened was, one day the phone, it just wasn't acting right. He said he tried to call someone and this person couldn't hear him. And he just got really frustrated because he tried calling this person. They could hear him, but he could hear them, but they couldn't hear him when he talked. And he got really frustrated that the person couldn't hear him, and it just wasn't acting right, the phone. So rather than investigating and trying to figure out what the problem is, he took the phone out of its case. I think he was outside too when this happened, and he threw it really, really hard against a concrete, or I think against the wall, one of those, but he threw it really hard, violently threw it, and the phone miraculously, it was all mangled and beat up, but it miraculously still worked for a few days, but then it just kept getting worse each day. It just got worse and worse. And it got to the point where it just wasn't really working anymore. So he just ripped the screen off. And yeah, so the phone was toast. It had, like, the back-facing camera, like, wasn't there. The home button was gone. The corners were all mangled. The volume buttons were all mangled, and the edges of the phone were all mangled. The insides were even messed up. The connectors, like that connected the battery and all that was all messed up pretty bad. And my friend, my brother gave me the broken phone. I asked him to, and my friend and I, we were trying to see if it could be saved, but no. There was just no way. So after that, he got a 5S. And he had the 5S for 5 months. And I remember one time he accidentally dropped it in a puddle of water. It stopped working for a day, but then it was okay. But that phone he no longer has, and could have still had today if it didn't break, or if he didn't break it. So what happened was, one day, he got the 5S in December of 2010, right after the other phone broke. So he got it in December, and not 2010, in 2014 he got it, the other phone, the 5S. And then in May of 2015 was when it broke. So he had the 5S for 5 months and 2 weeks. So 5.5 months he had the 5S. So what happened with the 5S was, he was outside one day. He and his friend were going somewhere. And he was outside, and the phone fell on the concrete, screen down. And he had a case on it. It was just a case that went around the back and the sides of the phone, just one piece. But he didn't have a screen protector. So it fell screen down, and the screen was all cracked. So he let me feel it, and the phone was in one piece. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I was thinking maybe he'll get it fixed. Maybe he'll just use it with a cracked screen. So the next day, because he went to his friend's house overnight, so the next day he texted me and my mother in a group message with my friend's phone. And he said, my phone stopped working. If you guys need me, just text Mark. So that was what we did. We texted Mark if we needed him, if we needed my brother. So so a couple days later, my brother was out somewhere. He went out somewhere with a friend, and I was in his room because the house where we were living at that time, my mom and I shared a room, and my brother had his own room when he was there. But when he wasn't there, my mother and I had our own rooms. So he and his friend were going to sleep in the room that my mother and I slept in. And then my mother stayed on the couch, and I stayed in my brother's room. So I remember I was going through his stuff. I really shouldn't have been doing that, but I was. And I found the iPhone 5S in the case, screen down. So the back was facing forward and the screen was down. So I thought, oh, maybe the phone really stopped working and he just put it down. So, and he just put it in the case the wrong way, wasn't thinking. So I found it, and what happened was he did the same thing to the iPhone 5S that he did to the 5. He, so the screen was cracked, and he took the phone out of the case, was outside, and violently threw it again. So this was the second time he did that to an iPhone. And I saw it, and I knew my brother wasn't lying to me when he came to me and said the screen cracked when he dropped it, because when I saw the phone, it was in one piece. So I knew that was true. So the throwing happened after the fact, after I saw it. So I saw the phone, and, like I said, again, he threw it violently outside, I guess against the wall or concrete, whatever. And the screen was ripped off. There's no home button. The edges and the corners were mangled. There was no camera in the back. Again, the insides were damaged. The battery, the connectors were all ruined. And also, I don't even know how the hell this happened, but how he got this off. But he probably ripped this part off, because I cannot imagine this part coming off very easily in a throw, or maybe depending on how hard he threw it, maybe, but I can't imagine it just coming off easily. So what happened was now for those of you that know or still have an iPhone 5S and below, the power button is on the top. So, and then there's like a smooth edge where the power button is. So that whole top piece where the power button is, was completely off. Like, he basically ripped that part off. Somehow, some way, I have no idea how, but he somehow ripped that piece off. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And because it was the whole top edge, like that smooth edge where the power button is, that was like completely ripped off. Like I said, I have no idea how he did that. And on both phones, the speaker, microphone were damaged. The earpiece was damaged. Basically, the whole phone was just toast. And even with the 5S that he destroyed, the whole it was toast. There was no going back. There was no fixing them. And even with the second phone, it could have been, the screen could have been replaced for probably like $100, but it would have been worth it to keep the phone. So yeah, so the phone was really, both phones were damaged pretty bad, and both phones could not be saved. They were both toast, and the second one, like I said, could have been saved had it not been thrown violently. So then what happened was he activated my old iPhone 5. And let's see. So that he had that phone for about let's see. He actually had that phone for since June of this year. So he activated it in May of 2015 and had it since June of this year. So, he had it for about 13 months, which was pretty good. So that phone is about like 3 years old at this point. But what happened was, so first the screen started coming up, but that wasn't his fault because the battery was like starting to blow up, and that has a tendency to happen with iPhones after a while because it happened to a friend of mine. He noticed the screen on his phone was coming up, and the only thing that was holding it together was the OtterBox case, and he knew it was only a matter of time, so he had to replace the phone. So for $80, they just swapped it out. So he still has an iPhone 5. They just swapped it out. So first it was starting to break, like the screen was starting to come up, and it wasn't like to the point where it was like the case was the only thing holding it together. Well, towards the end, he didn't even have his phone in the case. So yeah, that's probably not too responsible of him, but the screen was starting to come up to the point where like I could just stick my nail under it. And when I would tell him, and I told him what he should do, what he has to do to fix it, he was basically just ignoring me. And he was driving, so he just started driving faster. And because I told him what he had to do, so at that point it was just up to him. So so screen was coming up, and then it had a problem where either his microphone or his earpiece broke, and he was only able to make phone calls on speakerphone. So that happened. That was going on for about a week or so, and then he was out, and his phone fell out of his pocket and fell in the toilet. Because he got back home, he went to the bathroom, and his phone fell out of his pocket, because he usually keeps his phone in his back pocket. So his phone fell out of his pants and in the toilet. He got it in time, but, because he got it out fast. I mean, as quick as he could, but the phone, since the screen was coming up, water got to the insides of the phone and fried the insides of the phone. I mean, he said, like, when he took the phone out of the toilet, it was, like, just doing this, it was just continuously vibrating. But the vibration just got slower and slower and slower, and then it just stopped working. And when the phone was going, like, when the phone was coming up, indicating the battery was bulging out, the reason that his earpiece broke, or microphone, whichever it was, the reason that happened was because the battery was starting to bulge out, and it was putting pressure on the other parts, and it was affecting some other components in the phone. So that was why that happened. But after his phone fell in the toilet, he had no phone for about, like 12 hours or so. And so he went to the Verizon store and he currently has an iPhone 6S. And I wonder how long that's going to last, considering how he is with iPhones. I mean, I think he should have a flip phone, but, it's not up to me. So, yeah. And there was a whole thing with him using my upgrade when he broke his phone, and how he wanted me to pay him for the phone. But that's another story for another day, and that would make this video way too long, so I'm going to save that for another week. So, or maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll do a second part of that video and post it on Thursday. So, yeah. Alright, well, I'm going to end this video here, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And be sure to give it a thumbs up if you did. And be sure to comment, subscribe. If you have any questions, ask them down below. And I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. Alright, bye guys.